All right, welcome back, everybody. Now, this past weekend, the Ministry of Small Business Development, in partnership with the Small Business Development and the Industrial Development Corporation, hosted the second National Small, Medium and Micro Enterprise Policy Colloquium. Amongst its many objectives was the review of the National Small Business Act. So, joining us here on the program to talk about the outcomes are Lindiwe Zulu, the Minister of Small Business Development, and, of course, the CEO of the Small Business Development Institute, Mr. Xolani Qubeka. Thank you very much, both of you. Welcome to the program.
Thank you. Thanks for inviting us.
All right, so this gathering was also really a report back on the decisions of the first colloquium. Minister, would you like to just talk to us through some of the outcomes of this?
Yes, firstly, I must really thank Xolani Qubeka and his institute for hosting this, because remember, the first colloquium that took place, we were just new. We were hardly a month in office, and they came through for us to organize the colloquium. This second colloquium has been looking at the year since we've been in office. What are the things that we've been able to do, and what are the challenges? And then it's also been looking at the key areas of focus for small and medium enterprise development support. There's the areas of supply development, the areas of the Act itself, what are the things that we need to change in the Act because it's an old Act, and the areas of support for small and medium enterprises, both financial and non-financial support.
All right, Minister, I'm just going to ask you to grab the mic. Just seems to be having just a little bit of problem with your microphone. So this is really, I mean, there was great assistance, is what you're saying, coming into the ministry.
Absolutely. For me, it also gives hope to small and medium enterprises, because I'd also like to thank the small and medium enterprises who, in the year, despite the challenges that they've been facing, they've been out there slugging it out and doing the best that they can to sustain their businesses.
Yeah.
We've managed to help some, but we have not met all of them. So this kind of colloquium, which, by the way, brings the department, the institute, plus the practitioners of small medium enterprises and some of the small and medium enterprise businesses themselves.
Now, as we can see how appreciative the ministry was of the help of the institute. But let's now talk about small business owners. And I think one of the problems that was associated with the summit that was held was that Sandton is inaccessible to a lot of small business owners. I mean, we're talking rural areas where they don't get access to come and see these things and to be active and make these contacts. How does it get out and filter out to the rest of small businesses that are desperate for the help?
Yeah, maybe one must also clarify is that it wasn't really SMMEs more than SMME practitioners. It was more of a think tank where we get people who design programs, people who best understand the enterprise development ecosystem to deal with those structural issues. What we then do after the colloquium itself, we then have road shows throughout the provinces just to begin to solicit more views, but also to share some of the outcomes of the colloquium, as it were. But it is more really a think tank rather than just talking to SMMEs themselves, because SMMEs themselves have problems. Therefore, what we did last year, we had a bulk of them where we shared the insights in terms of what are those key challenges that confront SMMEs. That analysis was done. So we took those outcomes of last year, got SMME practitioners, people who deal with, we even had an international break practice, from the head of SMME research in Germany, in one of the universities, as an example, to come and share insights. So it was more of a policy, that's why we call it a colloquium. It's not just a conference, a talk shop. It is program and process focused.
I'm going to talk to you about the outcomes because it's vitally important that we hear about that. But Minister, I'm just going to bring you in by saying that I know that you also seek a lot of public participation when it comes to the process of reviewing the Small Business Act. How do the public go about this? How can they have a voice in all of it?
Well, firstly, let me bring in the role of Parliament. Remember that the Act has to be passed through Parliament, and therefore in Parliament also there's usually public hearings where the Portfolio Committee on Small and Medium Enterprises would then invite public inputs. But also we're connecting to the provinces, because not everybody can come to national. So we're going to make sure that at provincial and at local level, the structures that are relevant, like for instance at local government, you've got local economic economic development structures and offices. We want to use those offices so that people can be able to submit their contributions closely instead of having to travel or instead of having to email things to national office. We're also going to take advantage of the road shows that small business, Mr. Xolani's Small Business Institute will be doing. When they go out on the road shows, part of what we need them to deal with is the submissions from ordinary small and medium enterprise people as to what exactly do they want to see, because it's all about small and medium enterprises and the informal sector, by the way. So when we talk about reducing the regulatory framework or changing the regulatory framework and the act itself, is because we want to make sure that it's made easy for businesses to operate at local level.
Okay, so now let's talk about some of the outcomes. What would you say is, I suppose, the great successes that came out of it, the outcomes and guidelines going forward?
Well, I think more importantly, we have agreed really on really the purpose of how do we move forward. The key aspect is that we need to break away from the past. You know, we are dictated by the National Development Plan that says by 2030, must create 11 million jobs. And those jobs, 90% of those jobs would come out of the SMMEs,
yeah,
which means it cannot be business as usual. We therefore need, because South Africa takes SMMEs, you know, like stepchildren. So we need to catapult SMMEs from the periphery to the epicenter of the economy, which means we must deviate from the past. Now, we have revised and reviewed the National Small Business Act, and it is inadequate to change South Africa's psyche about SMME development. We have therefore agreed that the minister or the ministry must then set up a national SMME policy master plan linked to the NDP to say, how then do we put a new framework that will integrate the public and the private sector's approach to SMME development, so that we have a new epoch. You know, so we must then depart. So the major resolution was that we need a new policy environment for SMME development, as it were.
I do see that high up on the list here is the ministry's fast tracking of this SMME policy master plan task team. I know that is one of your top priorities right now.
Yes, it is, because the whole world actually looks at small and medium enterprises as a contributors, not only to growing their businesses, but also contributing to even towards the GDP. And so we want small and medium enterprises to look at themselves from that angle. We want them to look at themselves as possibly growing, those that can grow, because it's not everybody that would want to grow. Some are comfortable where they are, but would like to make sure that they grow. But I think what is also important is there's something called black industrialists that we spoke about. And we had a very robust discussion about small and medium enterprises also being lifted into the space of black industrialists. So we're going to look at the Department of Trade and Industry and the policy of black industrialists, because it's still in the process. We're going to make sure that small and medium enterprises are not left out of that policy. But also we're going to look at the supplier development and the supplier opportunities that exist within the public sector itself. So each and every department is of importance to us, because we think that if we were to open up the opportunities for small businesses within all departments across the spectrum, because government itself is one of the biggest purchaser of either products or services. So this platform is a platform that was looking at how can we make sure that happens.
I like one of the points here is to reduce the red tape. People complain about red tape in all departments, but small business especially. I mean, that is really, it's a stumbling block that could, I suppose, delay you opening this business. So how are we going to try and do that?
The issue here is the people that sit behind the desk that has to make sure that small businesses are serviced as quickly as possible, that they are paid on time, That's where we have to start.
Yeah.
Do they actually understand the importance and the contribution of small businesses? Do they also understand what it means when a small business is not being paid? Because as we say, small businesses do not have this huge amount of money where they can shift the monies here and there. And worst of all, small and medium enterprises do not get the same support that big business gets when they go to the bank. So we need to start on this side of the fence, where we look at the people that are supposed to give the service in terms of education, in terms of even conscientizing them from a point of view that it's important for them to make sure that small businesses are supported, because they should look at small businesses from a bigger picture than just to looking at them as people who are trying to make money for themselves. These are people who can contribute, firstly, to ensuring that we even bring more black people into the mainstream of the economy. But for us, it's beyond color. This issue is beyond color. There are small and medium enterprises who, in the past, had better opportunities. We're now saying to those ones, share those experiences with the ones who are upcoming. That's why we focus, for instance, on enterprise development. We're bringing in the private sector in this case, because the private sector has got a lot of programs that are related to enterprise development. We're saying to them, don't tick in the box. Really address the felt needs of small and medium enterprises. Open up the opportunities, whether it's Massmart, whether it's Pick and Pay, whether it's Woolies. The opportunities for small and medium enterprises are there. And we are engaging with them because we want to kill this notion that between government and the private sector, we can't meet with each other, we can't talk to each other, there's trust deficit. We want to get rid of that because it's not helping in the growth of the country. We need each other. And in particular for supporting small and medium enterprises, we definitely need each other.
Look, in fact, just sitting on red tape, part of the problem of government is that it's not well coordinated. You know, government has got resources which are not well aligned. I mean, if you just look at the capacity of government, which is not properly utilized, you have SEDA, which is Small Enterprise Development Agency, which has got offices all over the country. You have SIFA, which is Small Enterprise Development Finance Agency. You then have the LED offices in municipalities, and each one of these have an SMME desk. Now, in the outcomes last year, we said we need to have this integrated into the ministry so that they can then provide access at the local level, so that if you go to SEDA, you must be able to register with SARS, you know, because it's a government institution. You must be able, you know, to register for your labor requirements, you know, so that there is that seamless, you know, integration. And this ministry has therefore that capacity to bring all of this, you know, together. But also, government should also be able to be consistent. I mean, right now, the president has declared a 30% set aside for SMMEs. But you have another department that makes it difficult for that to be implemented. Because you now have National Treasury with its triple PFA, your preferential policy framework, that says, no, you can't implement it because it's against the law.
It's against the Constitution.
The Constitution, which is incorrect. So it's a huge elephant, you know, in the room, which we need to deal with.
Address. I see that's one of the principles to overhaul this policy.
Now, the role of Treasury is not to come back to us and say it's unlawful. It's say the president said we must do it. Therefore, how do we then break and we do it? So there's some of the issues as the Institute, together, I mean, with the Black Business Council, are saying we need to break away. For change to happen in this country, we must break something. You know, even if it's inside government, we need to be able to break something for change to happen.
Let's leave it there. Thank you for talking to us.
Pleasure.
I'm hoping that small businesses learned a lot about, you know, the way forward, and that there is huge concern and focus, because small businesses and what they contribute to an economy, it's a changing game. It can change what our economy looks like altogether. It's a game changer. Thanks for correcting me there.
Thank you very much.
Of course, our minister here in studio talking to us about all issues relating to small business. He's in charge of the portfolio, Lindiwe Zulu, and also is Mr. Xolani Qubeka, who is the Chief Executive Officer of the Small Business Development Institute. Thank you for being our guest here.
Thank you very much.
All right, let's take a break. When we return, it's rugby. I suppose, you know, the World Cup has come to an end. Let's do a little bit of an analysis. Stay tuned.